The movie starts with an American football game where we see the main character, Caden, playing and scoring a goal. A bit later, a player from the rival team named Brad charges at Caden, tackles him hard, and they both crash violently to the ground. Brad then walks off to celebrate in front of the crowd, but suddenly Caden attacks him and starts punching him repeatedly until Brad passes out. Everyone in the stands is shocked by Caden's strength and aggression, especially since he was hitting Brad while Brad was still wearing his helmet. The next day, Caden meets his girlfriend, Lisa, who tells him that he lost control of himself during the game. Caden admits that he often loses control and feels like he's going crazy. Lisa tries to calm him down, then they start making out in the car. At that moment, the full moon appears from behind the clouds, and its light affects Caden, turning him into a werewolf. When Lisa sees him like that, she's terrified and runs away. When Caden wakes up later, he finds blood everywhere in the house, and his parents are gone. He eventually discovers their bodies and realizes he killed them while he was transformed. He breaks down crying, full of regret. Soon after, the police surround the house, and we find out that Lisa was the one who called them. But before they enter, Caden turns into a werewolf again and escapes. His story spreads across the news, and it's revealed that his parents weren't his real family. They had adopted him when he was a child. Meanwhile, Caden manages to get to a cafe before the police can catch him. As he's leaving, he sees two thugs beating up a woman. Caden steps in and tells them to leave her alone, but they refuse and start insulting him. That's when he transforms again, kills both of them, and the terrified woman runs away after seeing his monstrous form. Caden takes one of their motorcycles and rides off to a casino. After a while, a man named Joe approaches him and starts a conversation. Joe tells him he's a werewolf too and that he knows Caden is one as well. Caden is stunned and wants to know more about werewolves, how he turned into one even though he was never bitten. Joe explains that he was born a werewolf and comes from a pure bloodline. He tells Caden there are many like him and advises him to find others from the pure blood lineage to understand himself better. Before leaving, Joe marks a location on Caden's map. Caden rides his motorcycle following the map and arrives at a small town. He goes into another casino, and as soon as he walks in, everyone there gives him strange looks. A waitress named Joelle walks up to him and asks what he's looking for. Caden tells her he decided to live in the town and is searching for a job. While talking, he notices a man named Connor watching him intently. Then his eyes fall on a beautiful woman named Angel, who turns out to be the owner of the casino. Meanwhile, Connor talks to a girl sitting with him named Haley and tells her to go talk to Caden and find out everything about him. Haley walks up to Caden and asks him to dance, but he refuses. Angel then asks for his name, and he gives her a fake one. When he asks for hers, a man named Dickie shows up trying to start a fight with Caden because Haley told him Caden was bothering her. Caden defends himself, saying Haley's lying and he didn't do anything. At that moment, almost everyone in the casino gangs up on him. A fight breaks out, and Caden manages to take them all down before leaving the casino. Later, after making sure he's alone, Caden goes to talk to Dickie, but their conversation doesn't last long. Dickie transforms into a werewolf and attacks him. Caden proves stronger and defeats him before running away. Afterward, as Caden's about to get on his bike, he meets a man named John who offers him a job at his farm. Caden accepts. On his first day, he meets John's wife, Clara, and starts working right away. Everything seems fine until one day Connor shows up at the farm and questions John about why he hired Caden. John steps in and says that Caden is his nephew, but Connor doesn't believe him and accuses Caden of attacking one of his men, a guy named Kitty. John and Caden deny it, and Caden explains that he only wanted to talk to Kitty, but Kitty was the one who attacked first. The next day, John, Clara, and Caden are watching TV together when suddenly the news reports the murder of the two thugs, the same ones Caden killed earlier. At that moment, he quickly grabbed the remote and turned off the TV before his face appeared on the screen. Clara and John were both surprised by his sudden reaction. Caden told them he needed to get out for some fresh air and left the house. He went to Angel's casino, where he met a strange man named Carter. Carter warned him to leave town before the police caught him, and told him to stay away from Connor because he was dangerous. Suddenly, Connor showed up next to them, and Carter immediately walked away. Caden went inside the casino, where he met Angel and found out that she and Connor were siblings. Later, Connor and his pack took Carter into the woods. Connor asked what Carter had been telling Caden, but when Carter refused to answer, they started playing a cruel hunter and prey game, giving him a short head start before chasing him down to kill him. Meanwhile, Caden was riding his motorcycle home when he heard howling in the woods. He stopped, got off the bike, and went to check it out. Deep in the forest, he unexpectedly ran into Angel, who told him that Connor and his pack had killed someone, and she wanted to find out who it was. The two of them walked together through the woods and saw Connor and his pack devouring Carter's body. Angel told Caden that Connor and his pack were all werewolves like him. Caden was shocked to realize that she already knew the truth about what he was. He later returned home with Angel, where they found Clara and John watching the news covering Caden's crimes. Clara suddenly hugged him and said she was sorry. Caden didn't understand what she meant, and then John spoke up, saying that what happened was actually his fault. Caden got even more confused, thinking he must have ended up with a family of lunatics. But John continued and said, "What I'm about to tell you might sound crazy, but it's the truth. You're my grandson. Your mother was my daughter, Lucinda." He went on to explain that Lucinda had been a beautiful werewolf and that Connor had seduced her, gotten her pregnant, and then abandoned her. To protect Lucinda from him, they spread a rumor that she had died and gave Caden up for adoption. A few days later, Lucinda killed herself because she couldn't bear being separated from her child. John added that Connor wanted a son to inherit his power and rule over the werewolves after him, which was why he'd been pursuing Angel. She too was a pure-blood werewolf. Later, they went out to the barn to figure out what to do about their situation, but suddenly things grew intense between Caden and Angel. Caden tried to control himself because if his adrenaline got too high, he'd transform into a werewolf and could hurt her. Angel didn't care, she pulled him close, and in the middle of their passion, they both transformed into werewolves. When they returned home, they found two men waiting for them. John explained that the men were werewolves from their village and distant relatives. They warned Caden about the consequences of being with Angel, saying that she was supposed to be with Connor to give him the heir he wanted. Caden got angry, told them to stay at the house, and said he was going to kill Connor himself. John tried to stop him, but Caden was determined. He went to Connor's hideout and confronted him, saying, "I'm your son, Lucinda was my mother." But Connor didn't believe him and said Lucinda had died before giving birth. Then he ordered his men to kill Caden. Caden tried to run, but Connor's men chased him down, beat him mercilessly, and surrounded him. Outnumbered, Caden had no choice but to throw himself off a cliff to escape. After the fall, Caden began hallucinating and saw Joe, who told him to run before Connor's pack found him. When he came to, Joe was gone. Barely able to walk, Caden struggled back toward the house. As he approached, Angel saw him and ran to help, bringing him inside and calling for John. The next day, Caden was covered in deep wounds. He told John that he couldn't bring himself to kill any of Connor's men. John told him that was a mistake. He should have taken them out one by one to save himself. Then John told him that he needed to transform to heal his injuries quickly. Caden couldn't at first, so John asked Angel to help him. She did, and the rush of adrenaline kicked in. Caden began transforming, and his wounds healed fast. They went outside, with Angel supporting him, telling him to run so his leg could heal properly. It was hard at first, but after a few tries he managed to run, and his leg fully recovered. Once he was back to normal, he decided he would face Connor and his pack again, this time to kill them all. Caden came up with a plan to plant explosives around Connor's house. With John's help, he made the bombs and then went out to set them up. Angel told him she wanted to go with him to finish Connor, but Caden refused, telling her, "Stay here until I'm done. When this is over, I'll come back for you, and we'll finally be free." Angel listened to him, and stayed behind. Suddenly, Caden hears Angel screaming. He runs quickly into the house and finds that Connor has taken Angel, and he's holding John and Clara hostage. Connor leaves a note saying that Caden must attend his wedding to Angel on top of the hill. Meanwhile, Joe, John, and Clara are locked inside a cage like chickens, while Connor's men carry Angel on a wooden board with her hands and feet tied. Connor goes up to John and tells him he's finally going to marry Angel and have the son he's always wanted. At the same time, Caden ambushes 2 of Connor's guards and takes them down before heading to the wedding site. Connor begins the wedding ceremony, then tells his men to leave him alone with Angel for a bit. He unties her from the board where she was hanging, but right then Caden bursts in and starts beating up Connor's men. He rushes to free Angel and keeps fighting the werewolves until he gets a chance to escape into the woods. Connor's men chase after him, but Angel transforms into a werewolf too and kills one of them. She then opens the cage and frees Joel, John, and Clara. John tells them he's going to help Caden, then transforms into a werewolf himself. John runs back to the house, climbs up to the roof, and takes position by the window with his sniper rifle. At the same time, Caden lures Connor's pack toward John's place. John shoots the explosives buried in the ground, causing a massive blast that wipes out most of Connor's men. Connor loses it after seeing most of his pack dead. When he spots Caden running into the barn, he and the remaining men go after him. But once again, Caden traps them inside, locks the door, and sneaks out the back, yelling to John to shoot the explosives. John fires, and the whole barn explodes. But then, out of nowhere, Connor smashes through the barn wall with his body, still alive. A brutal fight breaks out between him and Caden. Caden starts off strong, but during the brawl Connor tells him that his mother, Lucinda, wasn't forced into anything, she actually loved him. At that moment, Joe appears, laughing at Connor's weakened state. He mocks him, saying he's enjoying watching him helpless and broken. Joe tells him he always knew the only way Connor could die was by fighting someone of his own blood with equal strength. Then he turns to Caden and reveals the truth. Carter, the man who came to turn him against Connor, was actually Joe's brother. Joe admits he's the one who sent Carter, took advantage of Caden's anger and confusion, killed his adoptive family, and made it look like Caden was the killer so the police would chase him straight into his trap. Hearing this, Caden snaps and attacks Joe, but Joe punches him back hard, saying, "You'll see what you really are, you're still just a weak kid. I made you who you are, and now I'll finish you and your father for good." He then transforms into a wolf. Connor steps aside, letting Joe have his fight. But Joe can't resist mocking him again, saying, "You know, your brother Carter was with Angel 2 days ago." Enraged, Connor lunges at Joe and kills him. Then Joe attacks Caden again, grabbing him by the throat, but John intervenes at the last second and shoots Joe. John tries to fire again, but he's out of bullets. Joe runs, trying to escape, but Caden catches up to him. Before Caden kills him, Joe smirks and says, "Let me give you some advice before I die. Real wolves only kill for 2 reasons, food or self-defense, never for revenge." He lights a cigarette. Caden looks him dead in the eye and says, "Who said I'm a wolf? I'm human." He grabs the cigarette from Joe's mouth and throws it onto the explosives beneath them. Then he dives away as the entire place erupts in flames. Joe is blown to pieces. The next morning, Caden wakes up next to Angel. They head downstairs where John is waiting. Caden tells him he needs to take Angel and leave the city for a while. John doesn't like it, but he agrees in the end. Before they leave, John hands Caden a framed family tree of their werewolf bloodline. He tells him, "Keep this with you. If you ever meet a wolf out there, you'll know who they are." They hug each other goodbye and part ways. In the final scene, Caden rides off on his motorcycle with Angel holding onto him from behind. They drive off into the distance, and that's where the movie ends. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.